Hello, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to a special edition of Let's Play Every Day. I'm Tim McDiff, and every day I get to welcome a panel of sports influencers to talk about the latest and the greatest in Minnesota sports and other happening events. Joining us this morning from outside the Minnesota State Capitol, State Senator Karla Bigham in her mobile reporting unit, and from you're at the safe the office. Are you not at? Darrell, why am I blanking on the name of your outfit?
Oh, Boulder Options. Yes,
Boulder
I'm at the headquarters here in South Minneapolis.
Thank God you could remember, because it wasn't coming to me.
Anything you need, buddy. I'm here for you.
I know you are. You know who else is here for us today? We've had a great month. We've had a special a month where we've been honoring Black History Month, and we've been talking to African Americans who have made and continue to make a mark in the Twin Cities, Minnesota sports community. Over the course of the past month, we have welcomed Justice Alan Page, Hall of Fame basketball coach Faith Johnson-Patterson, Ricky Foggy, Leah B. Olson, and today we close it out with the biggie. Kelvin Trent Tucker, is a retired professional basketball player who played 11 seasons in the NBA. Tucker, of course, attended the University of Minnesota from 1978 to 82, leading them to a Big Ten Conference championship his senior year. He was then selected by the New York Knicks with the 6th overall selection in the 1982 NBA draft. Trent would play 9 seasons with the Knicks before joining the San Antonio Spurs for 1 season, and then the Chicago Bulls, who won the 1993 NBA championship. Trent retired after that season, having tallied 6,237 career points and over 1,500 career assists. After retiring, Trent has worked as a broadcast analyst for your Minnesota Timberwolves. He currently works for KFAN Radio. He's also an active philanthropist, having funded the Trent Tucker nonprofit organization back in 1998. And in 2013, Trent began duties as the district athletics chief for the Minnesota Public School District in Minneapolis. However, Trent resigned from that position after not seeing eye to eye with new district leadership. And Trent is now a busy father and activist, and joins us now this morning. And Trent Tucker, my friend, it is good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Trent, I was on a panel with Trent a couple of weeks ago at the National Sports Center where we were talking about sort of how do we have sports if we don't have officials. And Trent was on the panel, and I approached him at that time and said, this is what we wanted to do, wanted to have you come here, and you were gracious enough to agree to do this. So thank you for that. And if you would, Trent, you were a freshman at the University of Minnesota. I did 2 years up at UMD, but I was a freshman up at UMD. I think that last scholarship offer from Jim Dutcher was down to you or me who was going to get it. Seriously, how did you get here to Minnesota? And when did you in life sort of figure out that you may have something here with this basketball thing?
Well, my recruiting trip weekend was in October 1977. And when you grew up as a kid in Michigan, you're always a University of Michigan football fan. And that weekend, Minnesota was playing the University of Michigan. And Michigan was led by quarterback Rick Leach. They was ranked number 1 in the country. And Minnesota upset them that day 16-0. And I said, you know what? This may not be a bad place to go to school at. But I think, but Jesse Evans, who was an assistant coach under Jim Dutcher at that time, I had known him since I was in the 8th.
Trent, we lost your microphone. Something might have come undone.
And so, and when he joined Jim Dutcher's staff, I knew that it was my time to come and play for the University of Minnesota.
Beautiful. I was at that game that day, as a matter of fact. It was a beautiful day. And you're right. They shut them out 16-0, taking back the Little Brown Jug. I didn't know you were the added bonus we won that day.
I did not either. But it was a great October afternoon. Everyone was telling me how cold Minnesota was, but that day it was about 75 degrees. I said, if it's 75 degrees in October, it can't be that bad in December. Then I got here and I found out it is pretty bad in December.
Karla?
Well, first I have to say, kind of a small world. I actually worked for Jim Dutcher's daughter, Judy, in 2002. So small world. I think athletes are extremely inspirational and obviously serve as important role models for our youth. And DT on here obviously does programs with that as well. But if you were a high school basketball player these days, what would you be thinking? What would you say to them? If to kind of help them along in this world that's obviously tough right now.
Mhm.
but like, just what do you use as inspiration?
Well, I would say to kids who are part of a team, to be a part of a team is a special thing because everyone can't be a part of a team. And if you have a chance, to use that team to benefit some of the other things you like to do. And one of the most important things is to be a part of the team is that you have to be good academically. And if you're not eligible to play, they can put you on the outside looking in very quickly. But also, I would ask young people today to surround themselves with people who think like they think, who are positive, who have, goals and agenda set to move them in the right direction. Because there are so many things that kids are facing today that can be very negative.
Yep.
And if you're hanging out with the wrong group, they have the influence to lead you down the wrong road. So if you can find, one or two or three or four or five people who think like you do, they're moving in the same direction, I would try to ask young people to attach themselves to that group as much as possible.
Excellent.
That's a great point, Trent. I've heard many times you are a product of your top 5 friends that are around you. So
Yeah.
On this last day of Black History Month, I was at the game yesterday for University of Minnesota against Indiana, and Coach Mike Woodson, Ben Johnson, and I just feel like we've come a pretty long ways. But I also like for you to just kind of think about Ben Johnson, what he's doing, and the importance of the young men that are playing on the court, seeing someone that looks like them on the sideline, and having more coaches, Black coaches that are coaching in the college ranks.
It goes a long way, Darrell, and when we play this sport, and some of us, like you and I, have been able to play it at the highest levels, we see players on the field that look like us. But now when you see people in the administration that look like us, that gives us a chance to believe that, after the game is over, we have a chance to still have an impact in a different role. And to see Ben Johnson and Mike Wilson on the sideline is only going to give, young Black kids an opportunity to believe that, this is a possibility for them as well. And anytime you can identify with someone, that's in a high position of administration, that's a good thing for all young Black males and females to see.
Trent, your build. Even when I saw you just a couple weeks ago, I don't know about getting up and down the court, but you still look like you could get off your shot. You're such a gifted shooter, and I'm wondering, take us back. How much of that gift was created by hours and hours in the gym? How much did you have? I mean, was that always just something that you had the ability to do, was just shoot the ball?
Sometimes you are lucky as a person to have a special gift, but to make that gift work, you have to put in hard work. And having a mother and a father in the household every day who instilled that hard work in me and my 3 older brothers, I had to go out and practice on my shot all the time and work at to perfect, that skill that I was given. But also surrounding myself with people who had advanced at the game that I was trying to advance at, and pick their brains on the things that they did to make them successful. I think the more questions, we can ask as young people, we can see the right answers now that we are looking for, and then we can kind of carve out that path to move ourselves in the right direction.
So, kind of building off of that, what kind of dedication does it take? Clearly, you're one of the most prolific 3-point shooters, especially I believe in that's played in the league. And I'm just wondering, like, you played with some of the best, you played against some of the best. What kind of grit and determination does that take? And I'm going to kind of lead that into a kind of another question off what DT said is, this Gopher team, again, I think inspirational is the word that I'm using a lot this morning, but man, do they have, I mean, it may be one more year here, 2 more years, but they really have something special going on here. And I'm just wondering, like, can you put all that a little bit together for us as to how that's going to be woven into the hard work, the dedication, and kind of the grit it takes to play at those highest levels?
Well, mental toughness has a lot of different definitions to it. And sustain, to play at a very high level, you need the mental toughness to endure what it takes on a daily basis. The grind to be willing to go and work out and to dig deep and not to become bored or tired, because it's a grind every day to do the same things over and over and over and over again. But you have to have the mental toughness to stay with it. And the players who are talented enough to play at this level and the ones who are able to go on to become more successful, they have the ability to stay with it every day. And Darrell can attest to this as well. It's hard to go to practice every single day, to get hit, to lift weights, the condition. There are days when your body is tired. But do you have the mental fortitude to stay with it and understand, that I have to go through this pain to make myself better as a player so that my team can become better? And the guys who stay around for a long time, it's all about mental toughness.
That's true, Trent. I think about that in mindset a lot for personally, professionally, and in my own life. I think, I had a mantra when I was playing ball. I said, work when they work when they rest.
Yep.
That's how you can become the best. And that was my, and I've used it for my entire life. But I want to switch gears here quickly, because basketball, been around you in the gym for years, talking with you and Jim Peterson and all the other guys. How do your kids end up playing hockey? You said they're a hockey fan. Trent Tucker, firing up threes, crossover. Let's get into AAU tournaments. Hey, my kid's playing in a tournament. You should come see him. I guess I need to come to a rink and watch your kids. So how did this hockey thing happen?
Well, I think I lost that battle in the household a long time ago, right? But my nephew played hockey, through his youth days, and he played, high school hockey, and then he had the good fortunes to go on to play college hockey. I had kids later in life, and when he was playing hockey, the first sport thing they picked up was a hockey stick. It wasn't a basketball. They had hockey sticks in their hands by the time they could sit up. So when they were about 3 or 4 or 5 years of age, I used to drive down to St. Peter just about every other weekend to watch my nephew play hockey at Gustavus. And so hockey just became a thing that they fell in love with. And for me, it was nice to be in a different arena for the first time, where I didn't have to coach and I didn't have to second guess the head coach as well. Because when the kids came home or they got into the car, the only thing I could ask them, hey, what did you learn today? And are you having a good time? And I said, I can help you with the mental part of the game when you get old enough to understand some of the things I'm talking about, how you should position yourself here or there. But the technical part, you're going to have to rely on the people that you work with every single day in that hockey arena. So it's kind of been really fun for me to see how they have adapted and grown to different teaching and to different messages coming from different people, but also building that trust, in coaches, and trusting their coaches that they're going to lead them down the right path.
Trent, you came up and into the NBA, into what many people would say was the golden era of the NBA. I mean, you played against the heaviest of heavyweights, and you were right there. You were an all-star. You had the Knicks right there. But what was really cool for me was I was once assigned to go to Chicago for a Wolves and Bulls game, and you were there as part of the TV crew. And I was standing by you when the Bulls took the court. I've shortened this story because I've told it a million times. You don't know. I've told the story a million times because I got just this glimpse into what it's like to be Trent Tucker, because Michael Jordan led the team out on the floor, went up and made a layup, but then made a beeline right over to you and gave you what was about a 2-minute hug. The type of hug you don't give people unless you really, really, really like that person. So I'm just saying, you obviously made your mark at a time when the NBA was at its peak, but there was a lot of ways you could have fallen into vices and gone sideways. Talk about what it took for you to, keep your eyes on the prize and to be the type of a man that these guys who are as big as they're in the game have such great respect for you and love for you.
Well, the one thing I understood, why I was where I was at and how I got there. But when you're a young player going into the professional world for the first time, you're going to have some ups and downs. and I think I mentioned before, who did I surround myself with? I was very lucky to have veteran basketball players on my team to help me navigate through those very difficult times. I had good role models, a guy by the name of Truck Robinson and Lewis Orr when I first went to the Knicks. When things weren't going well for the first time, and when you come out of college and your first round draft pick, you think there are not going to be any dark days. And when those dark days do come up on you, who can you turn to trust and talk to? Who can you share your emotions and feelings with? And lucky for me, I had two veteran guys who was willing to extend their hands to help me out. And they taught me what it was all about to be a professional basketball player. And those two guys today are still my best friends. And so as I became a older player, a more veteran player, and a seasoned player, I was able to take the knowledge that they gave me during my younger days to pass it on to the younger guys now that I was mentoring. So you build those relationships, you get to know people for who they are. You don't judge them. You accept them for the people that they are. And then you just sit down and you have honest conversations with them. And Michael Jordan and myself have been friends for a very long time. As you mentioned, Tip, that's a very tough circle to get into. But Michael was a great teammate. He was fun to play with, and he was great to be around. And many people can say that Michael Jordan was very difficult as a teammate. To me, I didn't find that. The only thing Michael Jordan asked you to do every day was that to come to work, do what you're supposed to do, the role you are expected to play, put in the work so that you can be the best role player in that position to help our team win. And if that's all he's asking for, and he's going to carry you the rest of the way by himself when the game gets on the line, that's a great place to be.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan, I mean, that's the guy when I was growing up. That's who it was. That's who kind of got me to like basketball. And even though I don't follow it as closely as I know some other folks do, he's still just one of the best athletes ever. So that's cool that you have that relationship with him. Who else? You have to be inspired. You have to study film, and you have to kind of develop, your style and your player when you played. Who did you kind of look up to as far as a player and kind of fine tune your game, if you will?
There was two guys that I kind of idolized when I was growing up, and I said, I may not become as good as these two guys, but if I can become close, then I may have a chance to to make it to the highest level. It was Walt Frazier and Sam Jones. And Walt Frazier played for the New York Knicks, and Sam Jones played for the Boston Celtics. And they both were shooting guards. They were about 6'4", 6'5". And as a kid growing up, those were the two guys that I tried to model my game like.
Nice.
Well, you certainly did a good job, and you actually probably got an opportunity to meet him as well, right?
I did, and Walt Frazier for years, he's still doing he's a color analyst, for the New York Knicks, and just to be in the presence of Walt Frazier at that time, I mean, it was huge. And then you go into the Boston Garden, and the Knicks and the Celtics have always had these big rivals, and then now Sam Jones and Bill Russell and all of the great Celtics are there watching, and I got a chance to meet Sam Jones. It was like, for sure, I had made it to the big time. But the day that I knew I made it was when I met Howard Cosell. I knew I had made the day I met Howard Cosell. It's because when you're talking about Black History Month, during the 70s, in the early part of the 70s, growing up in Flint, Michigan, you only had 3 stations that you could watch: ABC, NBC, and CBS. And Worldwide Sports was on at that time. And who were the two most prominent figures, during the early part of the 70s? Muhammad Ali and Howard Cosell.
Yeah.
And so at that time, as a kid growing up in Flint, Michigan, you were saying I would never, ever be in a position to meet someone like Howard Cosell. And having 3 older brothers at that time who lived in that same era as well. And when I had a chance to meet Howard Cosell for the first time, I was like, wow, I know I've made it to the big times now.
So,
So here's my question, because I got Tim. I got to interrupt because I got one here kind of follow up. This person, I'm very curious if you ever met, because I argue with many people that he is potentially the greatest athlete of all time, and that would be Mr. Wilt Chamberlain. Did you ever get a chance to shake his hand, to play in a pickup game with them or anything? I mean, because Wilt his stats are almost like you make them up. They look like video game statistics when you go back and look at someone who averaged 50 points a game, scored 100, had 30 blocks in a game. Like, how do you have 30 blocks in a game? I mean, who does that? Did you ever get a chance to meet or be around Wilt Chamberlain?
Yeah, I had the great fortune of meeting Wilt Chamberlain, and to sit down and talk to some of the greats of the game, and talk about the era that they came up through and the things they had to endure, just to make it every day. Those were the guys who paved the way for a person like myself. Wilt Chamberlain, Bill Russell, two of the biggest names in the game. Bill Russell won 11 NBA championships, and you mentioned, here's a guy like Wilt Chamberlain who scored 100 points, averaged 50 points a game and 27 rebounds. I mean, if he was playing in today's game with those numbers, I don't know how an NBA franchise could pay him. If you're going to pay Steph Curry $40 million for averaging 25 points a game, what are you going to pay Wilt Chamberlain? What are you going to pay Wilt Chamberlain for averaging 50 points a game and 27 rebounds? Or Bill Russell, who won 11 NBA championships. So, to have those guys around to talk about the things that they had to go through and how they paved the way for the guys in today's game, it was just great to hear the knowledge that they were able to pass on.
So think about that, though. If the three-point shot had been around, during the bulk of your NBA career, how are they paying Trent Tucker? Because you have that skill set. Had to be a couple times you looked at it and gone, if I'm playing in today's game, cha-ching.
Yeah.
But the game would have been totally different for sure for me. And because, now I look at, guys shooting, some nights 10, 12, 13 3-point shots a night. And when I got into the league, the 3-point shot was in the league, but it was not a major part of the offense. And playing for Huey Brown, if I took 10 3-point shots in 2 months, that was a lot. And today, Steph Curry takes 10 3-point shots in the first quarter. So the game has changed. The game has evolved into a much faster game, a wide open game, a 3-point shooting game. But I still believe at the end of the day, for teams to win a championship, 3-point shot will be vital, but the inside play must be critical. And if you have a big guy who you can go down low, when the game, when the game slows down, those guys still are very important. That's why the Philadelphia 76ers right now might be a favorite to win, because they have an inside guy in Joel Embiid.
So that was going to be my question: is what do you think has changed since you played? Like, what do you think is the most, like, the top thing that has changed that has kind of impacted the game since you were playing? You kind of already alluded to it, but I don't know if you want to expand.
Yeah, the big guys now don't play with their backs to the basket. If you are a 6'10" or a 6'11" or a 7 feet kid today playing basketball, now you're working on your 3-point shot more so than your low post game. And it has expanded the game for sure for a lot of players coming from different parts of the world. But I still believe that to win an NBA championship, at some point in time, those big guys have to go down low and play old school basketball once again. We saw the Milwaukee Bucks win an NBA championship, with the guy who's not a great outside shooter. He's almost 7 feet tall, I believe he is, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But he scored 50 points in the championship game, and he went down low. He used his size and his strength to work over smaller defenders, to make his game work for the Milwaukee Bucks. And at some point in time, to reach that, to reach the mountaintop, you're going to have to go back to playing old school basketball once again.
Darrell?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Trent, I was thinking about everything that went on last summer, and with your kids being involved in hockey and the murder of George Floyd and everything else. Was there opportunities for you to share or talk a little bit about what's going on with people? Because I feel like there's been I have 2 sons and 2 daughters, and it was an emotional time last year, and I felt like I was a lot of times. I didn't want to always be the representative, like for us, which I'm not, but I became that. And I'm sure you felt some of that. And I think it's, I know hockey, and hockey's different. There's not a lot of, is talking to Tika and Sanjay played hockey for a little while. And he's like, he got called names. It was tough. Very many brown people playing hockey is what he said. And he said, I'm switching. I'm going to play something else. So, I mean, was there moments where you felt like you were explaining or opportunities for you to hopefully help people or open eyes?
Darrell, that's a great question you ask, because at times you hate to have those conversations with your kids, but that you have to have those conversations with your kids, because they can go on their iPads or their phones, or they watch TV and they see all the things that are taking place in the world today, and they have questions, and you have to be able to answer some of those questions. And during the George Floyd time, my kids were well in tune into what was taking place. But the one thing I had to explain to them is that even though he was a situation that took place between a white police officer and a black male, I don't want you to judge every white police officer based on this incident, because every white police officer that you encounter, they don't think like this. So you're going to have that balance. And hopefully as you continue to grow up in America, is that you will be able to judge people based on how they treat you and what you receive from them as individuals. Don't try to clump everyone into the same basket. So, and it's very hard to talk to 8, 9, and 10-year-olds about things like that, but it's something that they need to hear. And also playing in a sport like hockey, my 12-year-old has dealt with some of the name calling and some things he's heard that he thought that was inappropriate, but by he and I having conversation on a daily basis has allowed him to be able to navigate through that and just focus on the things that he's trying to do to make himself a better hockey player. But also he's chosen another sport where you don't see a lot of black and brown kids, and that's golf. So he's in 2 sports where most times he's truly in the minority, but he has the right mindset. And he said, I love to play both of these sports. I'm only going to judge the people on how they treat me. I know that some may look at me differently because I am a black kid playing in these 2 sports, but I'm not going to allow that to define who I am. And also, I'm not going to let that define the teammates that I play with. So he has a pretty good head on his shoulder at this stage. He's dealing with a lot at 12 years of age. It's a lot of pressure on him to maintain his focus and stay in the game when he hears certain things that he don't want to hear. So that's why I'm glad at this stage I'm able to spend the ample time that I need to spend with him to help him navigate through these situations.
Okay, I have to be cognizant of the fact that the state senator has to be in a group picture for her job, and she has to be on site in 10 minutes. So I do, but I'd like to, if I can, Trent, I'd like to ask you just one more question. If I can, if Darrell wants to ask another one as well. And Karla, if you've got to go, thank you for your contribution today, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, maybe I will hop off. Trent, thank you so much for the conversation. It's been very insightful and enlightening. It's great to meet you.
Okay, same here.
So Trent, I'd like to continue just by asking you, because kind of Darrell kind of opened the door to this. So you spent 9 years in Manhattan, and a year in San Antonio, and a year in Chicago, but you're here. And I'd like to know why you decided to come back and put down roots here in Minnesota, and what do you want to do going forward?
Minneapolis is a great city. We're having some difficult times right now, based on the things that have taken place around George Floyd, but also COVID-19 has played a major part in negativity as well. But the people here in Minnesota, they have always treated me well. I've always had a special place of living in Minneapolis. And for years, I did celebrity golf tournaments and brought guys in from all over the country, to be a part of some of the things that I was trying to do for the kids in the city of Minneapolis. And I just felt like when I left the NBA, that Minneapolis was the right place for me. It's a progressive city. It was growing. There are a number of things that I like to do and Minneapolis had to offer. So it has always been, to me, a special place to live, and it was the right place for me to settle down at.
DT?
Actually, it's interesting because I had the same question, being from Flint and, playing ball here, being in Chicago. And I know a lot of times professional athletes end up at other places. So I'm glad you're here. And I also think it's something I was talking to at a breakfast meeting with Mark Coyle last week. I think there'll be opportunities for us, myself, you, Tim. The university needs help, and we need to open eyes and probably be a little bit more forward with people. A lot of times I have bitten my tongue or just kind of turned the other cheek and like, oh, I just not, and I think it's time for us all as men and people of color and to tell our story so that people understand what we're going through, because a lot of times people don't. And if I just kind of bite my cheek or just kind of tough it out, then or don't say anything, then things will continue as they are. So I'm glad you're here, and I believe that you're absolutely part of the solution as well.
And I think it's important for the powers that be to have a different conversation, and we can not only divide but bring us all together. And because at certain times throughout the year, you're going to have a situation where you're going to need someone who has that experience to kind of help you navigate through those tough times. So when you surround your team or yourself with team members who think differently, all of a sudden now you begin to complete the puzzle. And Darrell, you were right. Having multiple people on your team that bring different experiences is only going to make the team better.
Well, Trent, I just got to say that this was really an honor to have you here and to have you share your insight and your story with us. And it really put a real cap on this whole something we just tried. And this whole show has been sort of an experiment. We wanted to give people, who haven't got access to the airwaves, which are limited in this market, an opportunity to be able to talk about what's happening, and to have a Darrell Thompson, who should have been a subject for Black History Month, because you're obviously deserving of that too, to show up and give us this opportunity just to be one of the people that we get to talk to on a regular basis. I want you to know, Trent, that the door is open. And if you'd love to be, this opportunity, we'd love to have you join the family and see where it takes it from here. No pressure to give you an answer right now, especially if it's no, then don't say no. But seriously, can't thank you enough for your time and your insight. I think I speak for all the rest of the panelists who couldn't be here on a day like today, because I know they all would like to have the opportunity. We're such fans of yours and the way you've conducted yourself and you live your life, and you're a prize and you're valued. And thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. Okay, I appreciate that.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Take care, Trent.
Okay, thanks, man. Talk to you guys soon.
See you soon.
Okay.
Darrell Thompson, I meant what I said there, my friend. You're obviously deserving of your own, time and segment, and it has not been lost on me, but we've had a hard enough time just getting you on just to be, your panelist spot during this month. So yeah. If we need to give you the whole month of March or April, you want your own month, I'm good with that.
We're going to have Darrell Thompson month in March. You know what probably will be better or easier when basketball season's over for my son. We're actually leaving tomorrow morning. We decided we're going to go to Senior Day, which of course, like, why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't you?
Why not 20 more hours in the car with my better half? She's probably gonna be like, I'm so tired.
There are these things, Darrell. They're called airplanes. They go up in the air and they.
When you take the airplane like every week, it gets a little. Even though I'm not, I'm not poor, I'm not rich, but I'm in between, and I'm like, eventually you gotta have a little bit of you exercise a little bit of restraint around the budget, or otherwise you'll end the basketball season in tremendous debt if you just jump on a plane every single week to go to the game. And we're fine. We'll drive. We're good at it, and it's fine. If it was more than 10 hours, I probably would fly, or else we wouldn't probably go. We see every game, so it's not like it's that challenging. But we want to be there for Senior Day. We were there yesterday, and we want to go to the Big Ten tournament next week. So I mean, like, what are we gonna do? So it's part of the deal,
Yeah. Well, I hope you get all of it, and I hope you enjoy all of it, obviously. And we'll talk about that. I'll submit a schedule, and you tell me what you can and can't do, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
All right. He's Darrell Thompson for State Senator Karla Bigham. I want to thank you for watching. And this is Let's Play Every Day. It's a show where we encourage you to get involved, get off the sidelines, get in the game, because life, it is a participatory sport. You got to get in the sideline. You got to play off the sideline, get in the game and play.